Welcome to today's Postgrad Insights session. Today, we're joined by Loughborough University London campus, and we're going to be talking and hearing about the Institute for Creative Futures, which by all means has been an extremely popular expected topic. Many students have registered and signed up from all over the globe. So if you have missed any of this or you're not sure on anything, there will be an on-demand video to all students that will receive this in the first week of December. Today's date is the 28th of November 2025. If you are watching live, there is a live Q&A facility. So pop it on the Q&A, pop it on the chat, feel free to say hi. And then towards the end, there will be a 10-15 minute Q&A, which I will be back moderating and hosting, asking Miko and Joe that I'll introduce in just a moment. Any questions, however awkward you may feel it might be or personal, we will do that. I would like to hand you over to Miko now. He's the Professor of Design Innovation at the Institute for Career Futures. Miko, I'd like to hand over to you at this point. I know we'll be hearing from Joe also. I'll be back for the Q&A. Over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. And like Gareth said, good morning, good evening, or good day for all. And thank you very much indeed for joining in this session. We have coined Designing Creative Futures. That's what we are about, is we're trying to understand where the future is going, what are we going to be doing ourselves, and what would be like to pass on as learning, as experience of the future. So today we're going to be basically doing things around exploring what are these creative futures to discover and develop new meaningful solutions. For we live in a world that is quite complex today, and all kinds of issues happening here and there. And I mean, we know we really need to think hard. What are we going to be doing in with our professional careers, a little bit with our lives, and so on and so forth. So we'd like to present our view of this overall. So just a quick introduction of myself. I'm a professor of design innovation. I've been around the block for quite a while. I'm happily living in London and with the Institute for Creative Futures. But in my past, I've done quite a lot of other things around the world, in Asia and Africa, in Europe, other places, Latin America, which is very dear to me. I was very much involved there. And so my whole career, I have been joining the dots in terms of trying to understand how do people's needs meet up with the expectations that we can do, and how can we actually improve the well-being and lives of everybody involved, and the organizations who we work with and who we work for overall. So let me pass over to Joe. I think she's online to introduce herself very quickly, and then we can have a look at the material at hand. Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Miko. So yes, I'm Joe Tacky. So I'm director of the Institute for Creative Futures, working with Miko and the rest of our wonderful colleagues. I'm a professor of media and creative industries, and have quite a lot of experience of working across the globe, actually. So I've had academic positions in the UK, Australia, and Spain, and I've undertaken research in many parts of the world, probably mostly in South Asia. My research work is mostly around digital ethnography, communication for social change, and participatory approaches, participatory media. And in terms of the programs that we offer in the Institute, I teach into methods modules and lead on the media creative industries dissertations. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Joe. So let's move on a bit here. So we are an exclusive postgraduate school that we really focus on master's thesis, and we have PhD students, and we have a very clear mission, is to empower the students who come and study with us and gain the experience in learning and doing things with us, and it's all about personal growth. It's about this kind of constructive pedagogy where the learners actually build up their own learning bit by bit. And we give, in some of our modules, we give an extensive amount of choice for students. For example, the design innovation program, where you can actually build up your own program to suit. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. We will focus on some of the challenges that we see in the world, and then afterwards we'll talk about our responses and the kind of educational and learning offering that we have out there. So Institute is, we are absolutely passionate about creativity because we think that creativity is the stuff that really drives humanity forwards, and that is the cornerstone. And we kind of believe that everybody is creative, and it's not just some special creatives, if you want to call them, but everybody has that kind of can have that and has that kind of a drive to explore the new, and we are also very passionate about looking at, well, how does this play out in the society? How do we explore new technologies, services, strategies? So we're not about only trying to understand it in academic words. We're very much about how can we apply it into contexts. And we do have a series of programs that actually reflect this idea of putting creativity into the fold and basically creating something with it. So we have programs in design, innovation, comms and media, and creative industries, and we'll talk a little bit about them. We'll go through some of the main programs that we have at later date. So let's just start by sketching out the field a little bit. Where are we in this world? Well, we are in the world of mega challenges at the moment, and also mega trends. Basically, we see all this technology and AI happening together with climate change, huge demographic shifts in aging populations, and also at the moment, huge global economic power shifts. So, and we see those things as kind of almost like creating the challenges that are not solved by any single discipline or profession. So they are not engineering problems only, they're not only social and political problems, but they cut across. And this is, in a way, the other bread and butter that we have is this idea of interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity even, and things that are cutting across and making it possible to deal with very, very, very complex, what we call wicked problems in the world. And just to frame a few of our responses. So we believe in creativity. It's combining ideas into new things, but we do creativity with a reason, and it's task oriented. So we want to create innovations or the successful applications of new ideas into practice. So it's one thing to have creativity that you keep inside your drawer and enjoy yourself. The other thing is to actually make that do something for the world and make that do something for your career. And for this, we think we need design. And design really widely spoken. So it's not about designer jeans, it's about or design furniture, but it is design as an attitude to life in terms of thinking what do people actually need and wish for, and addressing those things in very wide ways across the board. We've put out a couple of things that we kind of are very interested and passionate about. And one of them is co-creating the future of social change. So social change doesn't always happen by itself. There are many things that are happening there. I mean, poverty, of course, we know in the world is a huge issue. So we've been very much interested in international development, social movements, have been there for a very long time, and we know how they work out, or then the kinds of things which are related to fashion, to sort of, for example, popular music and other things, and the very local issues that happen around us. The Wick is a newspaper in our locality in East London, which really is very, very vocal about dealing with local social change and pushing agendas and being very advocate about it. The other thing that we're very, very, very passionate about is understanding customer experience and needs, because we say, well, out of all these people in the picture, who is our customer? We need to identify them, and we need to understand what they do, and And we also need to understand their journey. So how do we create awareness around them, consideration? Where do we meet the customer, in other words? And what are the things that the customers would like to actually do, and how do they do it? In order to do that, we do a lot of prototyping and testing and development around these things. So it's not only an exercise on paper, but it actually is trying to understand how things work in practice. We also are very concerned about services and the user experience, because services are really what in many ways drives the economy. And services like art galleries, or services which are related to funky things in society, trends, or things that aim to sort of design for the planet, as we had some time ago, or simply looking at how do certain areas do well. And this is a canal side view of next to our school, and where we find that people congregate on the weekends to have a good time. But the services are also important in terms of public services and services for the aging population, commercial services. How do you actually plan services? And they're all very much dependent on the user experience. One of the key things that we are always grappling with is the issue with new technologies. But what we also have to do is remember that this is a picture of a Victorian factory. So this is well over 120, 140 years ago. That was high tech at the time. So the technology is not something new or a big. It's new to the time and space. So at the moment, the Victorian manufacturing innovations, they really changed the world. The whole industrial revolution actually had a major impact on how we do things. And for us, at the moment, if you look at computer games, that is exactly having the same type of a change. We're going virtual. Or if you look at the early space technology, that this is the Soyuz actually from Leicester in the museum there. It seems it's very old. I mean, and it is actually very old. But what you're doing these days is we're generating these sort of things very much with technology, and we're doing things in new ways, and films that are created by AI, and with the use of AI and computer imagining. That's fantastic. So we're very much trying to understand where are we on the trajectory of the technology, and we're not so much about the necessarily the coding of it, but we're about how do you apply these technologies. For example, in the very first module that people do with us, we ask them to create people to create a video, and to look at different ways of communicating with themselves. And finally, we also understand the downsides of a technology. This is my personal phone that fell 8 stories down from my balcony a couple of years ago, and it was like a major disaster. And my life ended there, and it was one of those things that I didn't think it would have such a big impact, but it certainly did. Okay, so one of the things that we are very, very much interested in, how do you then translate this future to the day? I mean, we're always so worried about the world of limitations, the business of today, solving the problems of today. We have the unknowns in that. We know kind of, if we don't know something, we know how to find out. But the future is different, because that's the world of opportunities. But it's also the world of and creating new business, new wealth, new opportunities, new art, new communications, whatever. But it's full of these unknowns, the stuff that we don't even know that we don't know. And how do you do with that? And link to also the fact that some of the users that we work with, the people, the clients, customers, people that are important for us, to know what they think, they can't really help us in these situations because they don't know, or they might not know, or they might not know the right answer. I mean, this is the legendary thing. If you ask Henry Ford, about horses, he, what's the fastest thing? He went for the cars, which was very disruptive at the time. And what we really want to do is we want to translate those imagined futures into something that people today can understand. And that's a role for design. That's a role for for an effort which is quite concerted and concentrated on how you communicate about the future. How do you actually play out the what you want to do in the future in the world of today, so that the people of today can understand it? And that's not very easy to do, but that's one of our sort of things that we are very concerned about, because it's all about people at the end of the day. And the people really make a difference in how things are done. And in order to then mobilize it and materialize it and make it really, really fly, we are a lot about innovating the future business model. So we need to understand what people's needs are, how do they do things, why do they do things, and this is all about user research, user studies, and things like that. And based on that, we can create some kind of imaginary models on how to, for example, repair chairs as a business, or how can we actually create combined technology and business, and especially the desirability, because it is people who actually make choices these days, and still, I think for the coming future also. And if you don't understand why and how people make choices, you might miss out on lots and lots of opportunities. And we are very concerned also about what happens in the wider picture, in the ecosystems around us, and how does the policy impact on, how does the culture impact on, how do you create markets? These sort of things are super important in this context. A few words about the university. So that was about our desires and our how we see the world and what are we trying to do. But let's have a look at the university next. And so we are a top 10 university. We've been that for a very long time indeed, and we recognize nationally. The nice thing about the Loughborough London School is that it is in London, and it is the place of creatives. It is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, concentration of creative industries in the world, and certainly a lot of things are happening in London. So as part of your studies, we really encourage people to go out and have a look at the London ecosystem, to look really carefully and learn from what people are actually doing out there. In the design agencies, in the museums, in the industry that uses design and communicates about it in different ways. And we are in one of the most interesting places in London, which is the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. So we have a lot of startups around where we are here. We've got a lot of other universities, centers of learning. We have a really influential sort of creative community right around the corner in Hackney Wick and Fish Island. At some point in time, that area had the biggest concentration of creatives in Europe, possibly even in the world, with over 650 artist studios in one place. So it's a very vibrant area in London. So not only are we in London, but we're in a very vibrant area of London. We've organized the school. Loughborough University London is one of the 9 schools of the Loughborough University, and we've organized our university our school exceptionally around institutes. So normally you have departments, but we have institutes here, and the Institute of Creative Industry or Creative Futures is the biggest of the institutes at the school, and we have basically. Quite a nice track record, because in terms of comms and media studies, we're very high up in the rankings, and as we are with design. Those are the two sort of core areas where the university actually aspires in excellence. Of course, Loughborough is also very much known as a sports university, and that's one of the reasons why we're in the Olympic areas. So we have been doing things for a very long time, and even as our school is about 10 years old now, we've been bringing the ethos of doing things from the outside. And to note that the academics who work in Loughborough University London and the Institute of Creative Futures, they are all based in London. And so we have a very strong research pedigree. We do a lot of very interesting research in very different areas, and that is translated into our learning programs. which basically consists of design innovation, which is a master's or an MA, depending on where you come from and where you would like to go to. And we'd have 2 intakes on that. And that is our basically our shall we say, our core program in a way, because it has the most choice. So you are, as an incoming student, you're really able to tailor your project through lots of the choices into a sustainability track, or you can do a creative industry tracks, or a management track, or a design in society like track. We've created several pathways for you that might be interesting, especially in sustainability and creative industries. But other variations are also possible, and you can see from the amount of electives what are useful. Design and branding is a specialist program, which is looking specifically about branding and basically building up your knowledge about branding. User experience and service design is also a very specialist program because it joins the, studying user experience and service design. We'll get a little bit of explanation on these later on. And then we started basically recently another specialist program, which is basically design and AI. And that's also a combination between 2 institutes. Joe will then also talk a little bit later about the digital media and creative industries MA, becomes media and development, and media and comms MA. So we dividing up, introducing these programs amongst ourselves. So let me talk a little bit about the design innovation. So as I mentioned earlier on, this is a program where you can actually create your own pathways in many different ways. And this is really important because we don't know always where students come from, what are the kind of experience they carry. So we trust that students can and are able to create very, very interesting pathways for themselves within the programs. And each one of the components, we bring out the latest theories, developments, debates, and it's a very, very practice-oriented thing. There is academic theory, of course, we always have that, but we are always applying it through different types of assignments and assessments into the practice. So it is a play between theory and how it is applied. I also mentioned that design and branding is a more of a specialist program. So we recognize the importance of branding in almost any kind of an organizational activity. So their brand is important for non-governmental organizations. Just think of Oxfam's brands, or for any kind of a commercial activity that you do. Just think of the Apple brand, for example. And how those brands are managed, how they are developed, and how they're explored, and how do they actually respond? What kind of brand promises are you making out of them? So this is an important program for us because it is one of the key things where design helps to create the futures for organizations overall, is through the branding function. And that's why we have created a specialist program. This has less choice than the previous design innovation program because it is focused on branding. At the same time, we have the user experience and service design Master of Science, which again is a specialist program because it joins 2 topics of UX design and service design together, because services are usually created for organizations to market their wares or sell their products or services, or create awareness of public services and delivering health services to populations. We've worked with for example, the NHS around projects like that. And the key thing is that it all is linked to user experience. So in this program, we have reshuffled our programs to create a new program that is now starting in September around UX and service design, because we believe that these 2 programs, the fields of UX and service design, they kind of link up with them. So it has a lot of digital content in terms of it, as we have in practically all of our modules, one way or the other, but it is focused on designing really useful and important services for our society, for our businesses, for ourselves, in many ways. Design and artificial is also something which we launched last year, it is again. This is a combination Master of Science. So we have an Institute of Digital Technologies with which we co-produce this design and artificial intelligence master's program. So we have a suite of AI programs, and this is one of them. So it cuts across two institutes and in the most interdisciplinary fashion. And the idea is that you don't really have a lot of choice in terms of electives because you need to need to assimilate the content of two important areas of study, which is design and the AI, more technologically oriented AI studies. There's a bit of coding in this program, but it is very accessible to students without that don't have computer science backgrounds. So this is geared towards having a program which is you can do without past computer science backgrounds. So, and it is about the application of AI to different contexts. So you do get the best of the design area, and you get the focal pieces from the artificial intelligence sort of tracks that we provide overall. I'm going to pass over now to Joe to talk about the media and comms programs. Joe, please.
Yeah, thanks, Miko. We've got essentially two media programs, but I will be talking about three, and I'll explain why in a moment. So the first one is digital media and creative industries. So in this program, you learn about the sort of range of the creative industries to understand how you might work in the creative economy. It's a program like design innovation that has more than one pathway through it. So there's quite a lot of elective modules. You can take some of the design modules. And also topics. We've got a new module currently running right now called Creative Producing in the Digital Economy, which is available to design innovation students as well. Immersive experience in creative technologies, digital heritage, museums, and cultural industries. So what we're introducing you to is the range of media and creative industries. There's a lot of connection with local organisations. As Miko said, we're really well placed in East London to be at the heart of the sort of new sort of cultural heart of London, which is on East Bank. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name for a moment. So we've got Victoria Albert New Museum very near to us, and at the end of our building, in the very same building, we've got the Victoria and Albert Museum's storeroom, where you can actually access the items that they have in store. Also BBC Music Studios, Sadler's Wells. So we teach skills that are relevant across media and creative industries, and it intersects with some of the design programs that Miko's told you about. So that's our digital media and creative industries, multiple pathways, January and September starts. So can you move? Yeah, thanks. So the next program I want to tell you about is Communication, Media and Development Master's Program. This has its last intake is January 2026. If you're interested in this, but you don't want to apply for January, don't worry. You can still take this program. It's just got a new title, which I'll tell you about shortly, and is a bit expanded. So this current last iteration in January of the Communication, Media and Development MA is really about communication as a tool for social change. So how you can use it to shape the future in positive ways. You will be learning about development theories, international development, communication practices in that space, and it prepares students for roles in communication and social change roles, behavior change communication, any kind of social impact communication role, and community media. And we work with partners. Many of the partners I've already told you about, but also partners like UNICEF, BBC Media Action, IT for Change, which is a fantastic organization from India, the International Paralympic Committee, and others. So it's all about exploring current contemporary approaches to communication for social change in both global and local contexts. Next one, Miko. So our new program starting from September is called Media and Communication. So everything I've just said about the development program, Communication, Media and Development program, still applies. There is a pathway through this program that allows you to do that. But in addition, this is a bit of a broader program, so you get more options to understand media and communication more broadly. So many of the modules that I mentioned when I talked about the digital media and creative industries program are now available to students on this program as well. So it's the program I've just described, but with more options to take more communication and creative industries modules. So it's just broadening it out a bit and giving students more choice. So some of the things that you can explore would be identities, social movements, public relations, promotional cultures, and so on. But otherwise, it's very much as I talked about just now. Yep. Thanks, Miko.
Yeah, perhaps. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks a lot. So basically, I think one of the things we try to do is to have a really unique learning experience. And so we organize our studies and the learning around 3-week blocks. So you are only doing one module per time. That allows for you to focus on things. And in each one of the modules, we create sort of industry relevant and very connected sort of applications of theory into practice one way or the other. And that's you have basically both inside those sections. So it is quite fast paced, but the nice thing about the pacedness is that you can focus on one module at a time. And like Joe and myself, we were talking about earlier, is we have an awful lot of collaborative opportunities inside the school and outside of the school. And because we believe that we need to suffuse the practice from outside and incorporate it into the learning. That's one of the key items about transdisciplinary learning, is that you bring the academic and non-academic context together. And that really creates very unique combinations of things to learn, because you're bringing the outside world into the university. And one of the key vehicles that we use is the collaborative project. It's an industry project situated right at the very end of the master's program. And it's what we call a capstone project, which allows you to put into practice everything that you've learned to date, and apply that in a context. And we have subscribed several organizations to come on board, and they present challenge projects to us, and we do that. And this kind of experiential learning is very useful, because it is career forming, and it introduces to the real world context out there. You can basically, if you have a chance to look at this video later on, read about the students, the experience of the students, and nothing works as well as peer peer review if you want of that. So please feel absolutely free to talk to any of the students that have come through our programs in the past and ask them directly. And there are communities of people out there all around the world. For the last 10 years, we've been creating enabling people to have sort of a really good kickstart into their careers, and many of them have been extremely successful in doing all kinds of things in their lives. In the world of today, you do have to pay a lot of attention to creating your own pathways, and we're very cognizant of that, and we wish to help you out. We have a future space organization, part of the Loughborough, London, downstairs, which is essentially focused in this interaction, this university industry collaboration. And they're great at advising people on where could you look for and what you could do to enhance your career opportunities. And they are bringing constantly the real world into the context of the academic studies. Lastly, it is always important, and I think this is why we save this to the very last slide, is education it is costly. So what we try to do is we try to sort of facilitate a series of options for yourselves to should you wish to apply for us. And I think basically one of the key things that we're doing this year is, because we are 10 years and running strong, we have decided to actually have a £5,000 reduction as the London 10th year anniversary award. Now, this is a significant one because it really makes the programs accessible, and it is applied right across the people who actually are applying. So it's not dependent on applications or things like that. And it is, for us, it's really important because the significance of being around for the last 10 years, being around for the last 10 years quite successfully, and doing all kinds of very, very, very interesting things. We can sort of make that a little bit more affordable to you. We also have global excellence scholarships where you can actually have a 90% tuition fee waiver, and global impact scholarships. But these are specialist, and they're based on competitive entries and London Future Me discounts. And please have a look at our website for them. Some of these, the latter three things are very much given on competitive on a competitive basis. So excellence in past academic studies is really important there, and things like that. But the London 10-year anniversary is actually available to everybody. I think that kind of wraps up our presentation on that. I think, Gareth, we are very open to any questions that you might have on that. And if you are wanting to, outside of this webinar, just please feel free to contact us. Our emails are there, either Joe or myself, and we'll try to help you in any possible way that we can. So shall I hand over to you, Gareth,
Yes,
please?
please do. Thank you, Miko, and thank you. If we could just leave it on that screen for the time being, just so that any students that want to communicate can do so. I want to start actually with the funding and scholarship page that we've just seen, because that is quite unique to be offering £5,000 tuition excursion because of your 10-year anniversary is fantastic. And I was talking on a previous webinar with one of your colleagues. That's almost unheard of. That's such a great opportunity. In London, might I add as well. Can I go back and talk about the relevance and the cost of London and why that's so important? Because there will be many students that where you're based perhaps will commute in. You don't have to live in London, do you? Being where you are in Stratford, you're very, very, very easy to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're on zone two, in London, which means that you have a train, you have two tube lines, you have the bus you can take to central London any time you wish. There is student accommodation very near to us in Stratford. There is one of the biggest shopping centres in London is in Westfield. So you have a lot of services around, and you have a lot of accessibility. So and the way we've structured the learning, it allows you to have days where you can actually go and explore London. So we're very well placed for London, central London
Yeah.
attractions, and the access of them.
That
Now,
was going to be one of my questions. Sorry,
yeah,
Miko, quickly. The type of
yeah,
student that will perhaps be coming
yeah.
to study your programs, they will be creative, they will want to get out and about, and that's so important,
Oh,
isn't
yeah, absolutely. It's really important to learn from the environment, and that this is why London is. There is no other place in the world like London in terms of what we do overall. So it is there. But you were talking a little bit about the expense of living in London. Now, truthfully speaking, London is not a cheap place to live in, but as many capitals in the world, they tend to be expensive. So this is why we're also sort of handing a little bit of a bigger opportunity for students to come on board with this £5,000 award to celebrate our 10th year. So I think it probably, hopefully, it makes things more accessible for students, and basically we can welcome you on board.
Joe, can I come to you at this point? I think one of the things I took from your presenting piece there was how unique the classes are and actually hands-on. Um, from speaking to, and I got this from Miko as well, but from speaking to your colleagues, there's not many people that will call you Miss, Mister, whatever your pronouns are. They know you on first name terms. It's a very personal way of learning, and I'd imagine that makes for a very unique way of education.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd say that most of our class sizes are uh, around about 20 or 30. We do have some bigger classes, but we would split those into smaller tutorial groups. So in most situations, the module leader, the teachers will know the students over the 3 weeks of each module quite well. Each student also gets a personal tutor. So right from the beginning of their studies, they have one academic who they will be able to go to at any point throughout the whole of their duration of their studies. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I get called prof, sometimes I get called Joe. Um, Either is fine. So yeah, I think it's a very friendly and accessible sort of
Yeah, I
comfortable
would agree.
situation.
Yeah.
And and in terms of uh, where people live, where students live, I mean, we have students that live quite some distance away, but because of the transport to East London, that's not an issue. And we tend to, Miko talked about the way that we teach. So we have sort of focused learning, so one module at a time. So students tend to need to be on campus 2 or 3 days a week. Obviously, there's other things they can do, extracurricular things if they want to be on campus more. Um, and in terms of like the range of uh, uh, places that they can visit, again, some of it we organized within the curriculum, some of it is extracurricular. But for example, in terms of our creative industries teaching, where we teach about immersive experience and creative technologies, we take students out to experience immersive events or activities or experiences in London, which is the you. It's really the sort of heart of new immersive experiences. So just across the park, we've got the ABBA Voyage, which is the biggest and most successful sort of live immersive experience that you could have. And that, we work with them. We have interactions with organizations and the people that run and have set up things like that. And on the design side, equally, visits to interesting organizations and events and so on.
Can I
And
ask, Miko, sorry to interrupt there. Can I
no,
ask about the ever-evolving topic of artificial intelligence. Joe, you've just touched upon it there, the voyage and how you help with that. And I think that goes to show such a nice blend between the old and the new, in the sense that you got one of the most successful music bands ever, perhaps being overtaken by themselves in a technological world, in terms of funds, which is ridiculous to say. But Miko, how important is it that the student uses artificial intelligence to aid them rather than to replace them?
Well, look, you cannot stop the development of technology. That's not really feasible. So let's embrace it, and let's see where it can take us, and let's learn about it, because there's also a lot of hype around AI, and there are a lot of misconceptions out there in the world. So we believe that AI can be really useful, and we know the extent in which AI is being used in the design industry to help to research things, to help to create mock-ups and very fast, rapid prototypes of things, to start sort of explore different types of options that we might have on it. But the key thing is still, we believe that it always needs to be used by people. We're still at the stage, and hopefully will be for quite a time forwards, where you need to. It's a tool. It's a tool just like any other one. In the Victorian factory, you used steam. At the moment, what's creating value in society is intelligent technologies, but the intelligence comes from the combination of woman and machine, or man and machine, and how we can actually leverage both in the application of creativity. Um, I think everybody who has ever used AI will note that the creative outcomes are a little bit wanting in many ways, because you need the people to filter them out. And how do you do that is something that we're quite concerned about. And we're actually very much looking into those sort of things, because we think that they're a tremendous opportunity. Now, you do need to be careful with that, because in your university studies, you cannot pass the work of AI as your own. So you need to moderate it, and you need to be able to take the best of it and use it to benefit your knowledge. So it's a tool. And I think it's a really useful tool, and we absolutely embrace it right throughout. So it comes up a little bit in all of the different programs, but we decided that because there's so much talk around AI, we decided to create a specific master's program around that, the design and AI. So if you're really interested in that topic, that might be the one that you could take, because it combines the out sort of the learning inputs from the Institute of Digital Technology with design. So that's an interesting one for you if you are passionate about AI and its applications. But if you are on a general level about how to apply AI into design processes, or into the comms and media processes, I think it will pop up almost everywhere inside the learning curriculum, one way or the other. Joe, would you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I've just spent 2 days in Manchester, Salford, actually, at Media City, the Lowry Centre, at the Beyond conference, which is the Creative Industries conference, which is attended by a mix of creatives, organisations, commercial organisations, governments, and academics. And the topic this year was really about shaping our creative futures,
Yep.
and in just about every panel or workshop that I went to, there was a discussion about AI and how people are using it, what its potential use is, what the risks are, what the opportunities are. So this is a live conversation out there in the world, amongst design companies, creatives, media organizations. So I think it's what we try and do is keep abreast of that, what's happening outside, and helping our students to understand it and be ready for it. Because there's no point in not talking about it, because as soon
Yeah.
as people go out into the world, into their future careers, it's going to be there. and
Yeah.
understanding its strengths and weaknesses and the opportunities and risks is really important.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
If we can move on to the topic, and there was a really nice slide actually towards the end of the presentation, Miko, about career opportunities working with national, global partners. How, again, important is it for a student when they're looking to choose their next steps that not only are they thinking about their career, they're thinking about who they could potentially work with long term and how they see themselves fitting in there. I thought it was a really nice bunch of logos on there, but again, the career service seems fantastic. How important is that post graduation that you're able to kind of, I hate this saying, but hand holding into a potential career?
There's in maybe Joe, you can add a little bit onto this later on, but in my perspective, there are two things that you do. You need to have yourself a strategic view or it would be ideal if you had a strategic view. Where would you like to go yourself? And you can develop that over your master's degree over the year, and so you don't have to have that as a predetermined idea. Some people do, but most don't. But you can certainly be thinking about it. And we have both the sort of the more formal, the kinds of occasions that we are able to prepare as a university for you. But then there's one really significant thing that you can do to enable your career, and that is your master's thesis, your dissertation, because you can choose the topic of that quite freely to align with your career interests, with the align with what you would like to do in the future. And you can be very, very, very strategic. It can almost act almost like a calling card for your expertise, your job seeking, your future career seeking drives. And so we kind of enable both the very individual, bespoke needs of things through the learning programs. And then we help in more generic ways in terms of career advice. And of course, the faculty members are very knowledgeable about what happens out there. I mean, we're not an employment agency, of course not, but we do know what kind of trends are out there. So we are a source of knowledge also for students in many different ways. And we're happy to always be talking about career aspirations. And in fact, we do a lot of that. Would you have anything to add, Joe, to that?
Yeah, so I think we work quite hard to bring people in to talk to students. So at the end of last
Yeah.
semester, we had someone from Google come and talk to students about careers and opportunities and answer questions and so on. Um, uh, Miko, in his presentation earlier, mentioned Future Space. So Future Space is a team of people within Loughborough, London, who look after careers and partnerships for us. And they are sector leading. We're really, really proud of them and happy to have them. So they offer wonderful opportunities to students like micro internships. They also work with academics to run and facilitate our collaborative project. And source the partners for that and manage the relationship with the partners for that. We offer collaborative dissertations. So you can do your dissertation in partnership with an external organization. There's that opportunity. And this last year, it was the first year that we started offering project-based dissertations. So students can actually, rather than produce a completely written dissertation, they can do a creative or, they can produce a prototype or a design brief or a business plan or a video or
Yeah.
something else. So very much sort of looking at skills that are useful and will help students in their future careers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask about the type of student? One of the biggest emerging markets in terms of potential students is what we call mature students. Now, 25 years ago, um, we never had ABBA Voya for a start, but 25 years ago, mature students would have been classed as anyone over the age of 23, 24, doing them, taking a break and onwards from that. We're seeing more and more students now age 30, 35, wanting to further their career and their studies. Are you seeing that from your side? And also, what kind of impact does that have on the learning and the culture of the classroom? That actually you are getting not only people that are in their early to mid 20s, you're actually getting people in their 40s and 50s, and perhaps sometimes beyond, wanting to further their education.
So yeah, I mean, we get a range of ages. I guess it's not uncommon for us to have in the classroom people who are taking a break from their careers or wanting to pivot their careers or just wanting to pause their careers to do some study and thinking. So I'd say quite a lot of our students have been working for 10 years or so and decided to take the master's course. The majority of them would be younger, but they all seem young to me, so a bit hard to
Well,
tell.
yeah, I think that's a fair point. Everybody seems younger than us, Joe. I think that's very. But we do, however, have lots of faculty which are a lot more younger than we are. But anyway, the in terms of the classroom work, it's a real blessing to have people with experience. I mean, it's wonderful because they bring the perspectives of their work history and their past activities or their other careers that if they wanting to pivot into something new, they bring to play. So the life experience is very important. And we've never had any negative issues around it. Basically, it's always been extremely positive to have that kind of a mix of students. We are very international also. I don't remember how many nationalities we have in the classroom, but very easily you could have, I don't know, I'm guessing, Joe, maybe 25 different nationalities. We do have a fair number of Indian students. We do have a fair number of people from China, but we have a lot of students from very many other places also. And that's really interesting how these the cultural sort of connections that people make come together. And yeah,
Miko, thank you. I think that's a lovely point to end on. I think you cannot teach, educate, or learn life experience, whether that be down to circumstances from whatever country you're from, or just your career path that's taking you through. So thank you, Miko. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for your time. It's been a
thank you
great
very
session.
much.
Great to hear from a creative standpoint about how, technology and, intelligent technology comes together. So thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from
Yeah.
you more in 2026. If anyone has any questions, if you would like to apply, I'm presuming the intake dates are September 2026. Is there January offerings as well?
There are, yes, the programs we have for January are design innovation, digital media and creative industries, and communication media and development.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
And if you are wanting to
Right.
start, you can still start for January 26th, but you should be applying
Yeah.
very, very, very quickly indeed. And please, so do enter into contact about that as
It's
soon
not
as
too late.
possible and put in
It's
your
not too late,
application.
is it, Miko? It takes
It's
about
not too late.
it takes about 3 weeks, I reckon, in total. By the time that you apply, it's always dependent on you, the student, I'm afraid, watching. So,
Yeah.
if you want to move it and fast track it and get things along quicker, it kind of falls on your shoulders a little bit to get what you need to do done. So, Miko, Joe, thank you for your time. Anyone missing anything of this can watch on demand. Reach out to Joe, reach out to Miko. The details are on the screen now. Feel free to do so. They'd be more than happy to communicate with you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Take care.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye bye.